Welcome, everyone, to our Saturday monthly Dharma dialogue. Good to be with you this morning. I'm glad you could join. And happy spring. And also happy Artemis safe landing and splashdown yesterday. Those of you who've been following, I know that was the final hold our breath and hope things go well. And it was wonderful to see the spacecraft land after all their travels to the moon. So just wanted to honor that this morning as well. Um, and thank you everyone for being here. And welcome to our guest, Diana Kosei Hartel. Really, really happy to have you here with us today. Calling in from Ashland, Oregon. And I'm currently in Nevada, just a little bit north of Las Vegas. So our one body invocation is between earth and sky throughout space and time, unifying our hearts and minds. So here we all are together. Thank you for coming. I'm really happy to be talking with Kosei because we have interacted more by email over the last few years, and I've known of your long friendship with Gakyo. You
Yeah.
both have practiced together at Zen Mountain Monastery and have known each other for many, many years. But we've never had a chance to actually just sit down and talk and connect. But there are many kind of common streams and threads in our life, and so I'm really grateful for that. Um, Kosei has a early career in epidemiology, was in Brooklyn and New York during the time of the AIDS crisis, and then also interest in environmental science at that time, and then eventually moved into Zen practice, and then art practice came with that, and somatic arts and somatic therapy, and a couple of nonprofits along the way, lots of social action in your life, including writing a wonderful book, Watershed Redemption, really interweaving your life and exploration of 5 watersheds and environmental action, and most of all, love for the earth, which we both share deeply. Um, and then later in life, ordained as a Zen priest, and now caregiving with your mother up in Ashland. So a very, very full and rich life of Dharma and practice, both on the cushion and in the world. Um, so I'm excited to get to talk with you about all of this. Uh,
Yeah.
and we'll
That-
launch into a little bit. I wanted to say that the first time when I met you, and I don't know if you actually know this or if we've connected around this, we sat sesshin together at Great Mountain Zen Center, and that was the very first time I met you. You had been coming through, traveling at that time, living in a van with your cat
yeah.
as well, and joined in the retreat there. And I remember going, "Who's that? Who's that? And what's she up to?" So,
Yeah,
uh,
she's been up to a lot. I do remember that time. Yeah,
uh,
actually, lots of really great connections made right then at that sesshin.
yeah,
Yeah, including Shishin, who advised me about um, taking going to Seisen Roshi's place on the West Coast. I needed to be near my daughter during COVID, and Seisen is a Dharma sister of Shishin.
yeah.
Um, she was transmitted to by Glassman, so I did. I went and signed up, and she ordained me.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was the turning point. I didn't
it
realize that.
was.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Oh,
met
I
you at a very big turning point.
love that. Well, I wonder maybe just to get started, and Kosei and I will share a little bit and have a discussion, but we really invite all of you, if there are questions or things along the way, you could put them in the chat, and then we'll open it up, at a certain point also just for questions from the group. But we'll dive in. I would love to hear, just given all that, the kind of branching streams of your life, and then
Yeah,
ending at Sweetwater for your practice. Maybe a little bit about that from being in New York and working as an epidemiologist, and then that at some point you were drawn in to practice at ZMM, and wonder if you might share a little bit about that and what drew you to practice. And
sure. Well, I believe my my vow, my priest vow actually began way before I ever formally did it. And actually, when I was young, I wanted to be a nun and I felt the calling then, but it never took a form that I could step into in this life until much, much later. And I did want to ordain at ZMM. I was there, I went to monastic meetings and all of that. But I have to frankly say, I could not agree to be a novice priest or a novice monk at that time because it was so patriarchal. I just couldn't do it, you know. It's changed since, as has most American Zen, but it just didn't feel right at the time for
Mm,
me. So I went traveling and considered my traveling life as my Zen practice. And I would do self retreats, by myself, session by myself, things like that. So it's been a long time. So finally, when I reached an age when most monasteries won't let you ordain because you're too old, Seisin agreed to in Sweetwater Zen in near San Diego. So I really appreciated that she would do that, take a chance on me. And I didn't, like I said, it's been a long time coming, and probably before I was born, this vow has been carrying me, and now it's formal.
mm, mm,
And it helps. The formal vow really helps, actually. It's a great reminder all the
mm.
time that, oh, wait a minute, I took this vow, I did it in public, I said it aloud.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. And I'm really touched to hear that that calling had been there all along, that there was something to that. Can you say more about that? Like what was your experience of that calling of how did that show up either in your body or in your mind or in your thoughts or in yeah, what was that like? I imagine a lot of us have something there, but we don't quite know what it is and would like to know more about what your experience was.
Yeah, there are vows that we all take if it doesn't have to be a Buddhist vow or a priest vow, but we make vows in our lives. I vow to be honest. I vow to be truthful. I vow to be caring in all my relationships. No, I vow to care for the earth. I vow to feel deeply into this life. I vow to be myself fully. Those kinds of vows we all have in some form. The priest vow is a little different, and I think it shows up in when they cut the last lock of hair. I'm not shaving my head anymore, obviously, but the last lock of hair is cut, and we say that that's the connection to the material or ordinary life. Now we know that it's all one, that that material life is also the Dharma, but there is a vow to um, to be deeply devoted to the practice and not be caught, to not cling, I guess. I mean, these are all common things, but it goes deeper when that last lock of hair is cut. And you go,
Mm,
okay, yeah, this is this is like a Zenju um, sensei says that underneath her robe she is naked. We're
mm,
naked. We're not attached to the world in the same way anymore.
mhm,
We're
mhm,
naked in our vow,
mhm,
and that
mhm,
I feel that too.
mhm. And the removal of the hair is that outer expression of that
Yeah,
and also embodiment of it. Yeah,
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 yes. But
yeah, that nakedness. I remember hearing a story, we just had Myotai
oh,
Sensei
good.
last month, and a number of folks here were part of that. She didn't bring this story up, but I remember reading at one point a story she shared about when she took the vows as a priest and had a discussion with her teacher about
Diana. Yeah.
yeah, shaving the head, and I think
Mhm.
she at the time was like, but my hair is kind of how I feel the world, and it
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
me, and but I don't feel attached to it, but there's something to that, and what is this
Mhm.
letting go? What am I, I'm shaving the hair off, and the response from her teacher was, um, you're shaving the hair, but really what you're shaving is your heart,
Mm.
shaving the heart. And that really struck me this, and by shaving as in clearing out what might be getting in the way of the heart. So I don't know if you feel that. I know when I left on my pilgrimage, I also similarly didn't feel like the circumstances were right for me to go to a monastery or to ordain as a monk or as a priest at that time in my life. But I had a very clear feeling that this was stepping fully into my whole life was my spiritual practice now. And I had a vow that I've shared with some here that I wanted to meet the world and everyone and everything with an open heart as best as I could. So to me, that vow to clear out whatever's getting in the way.
That's the vow. That's it.
That's
That's being naked, actually.
being naked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the open heart is a given, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was at ZMM when Myotai was there, and it was, I have to say, there was a lot of drama going on at ZMM at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I couldn't trust Dido enough to take take vows that were the novice priest or novice monk, it, part of the vow is to the temple itself, not just
Right.
right. It's a training position, and I just couldn't do it with Dido in charge of ZMM. Other people have different relationship with him, but mine was fraught,
Yeah,
so I couldn't do it.
yeah. And so then you became a wandering practitioner,
I did. Yes, yes, I did.
then found your way to Sweetwater Zen with
Eventually, yeah.
700. Yeah. And what was the community like there and your practice
Oh, when
there?
I arrived, it was COVID. No one was coming.
Oh,
No one,
wow.
no one. The temple there is a yurt,
Yeah.
right? And it was just me and this other person who is now the head teacher and the abbot of the
Mhm.
place. And there's just him and me in the yurt with our masks on.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Yeah, people were coming in by Zoom, and then it became Zoomdo for a very long time. It still is pretty much.
Mhm.
Yeah, some
Mhm.
people come, but it's not lively like it once was before I got there.
Mhm.
But it has a residential community. There are cottages there people live in,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's not like a monastery where you're required to do everything. They have very minimal requirements.
Mhm. Yeah, more of a practice community.
Practice community,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And as most places, most Zen centers and spiritual centers, there are a lot of very troubled people show up.
Mhm.
And I think people often confuse, what is a spiritual practice and what is therapy.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I'd say a lot of them really needed therapy to be able to practice better. You could do it simultaneously, of course, but
Mhm.
to not look to Dharma practice to solve your emotional problems. It doesn't always work.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, there's different kind of modality that's needed for some of that deeper healing and therapeutic work. And then, so you have kind of experience and feet in both realms, though, as a somatic
Mhm.
therapist, and then within the Dharma community as a priest. Um, Maybe that might be nice to kind of dig into a little bit that, okay, the work, and because I have similar experience in my own life as well as others that I've known and worked with, that the therapeutic work is its own particular need and path. And it can be informed by my Dharma practice, but it is also distinct. And but then vice versa, the more that I did within therapy, then actually the deeper my sitting could become because there were obstacles in my sitting that even just somatically that came up from past trauma and kind of energetic, in my case, a lot of unexpressed anger and things like that can be
Yeah.
common. That when I would sit, would actually become, I would become too activated. And I had to kind of go take care of that therapeutically in order to then be able to actually sit with it. But sometimes we get this message that, oh, we'll just sit with it,
Yeah.
allow everything to be as it is, and that's the way. But I found that actually to be really harmful. So I'm curious of your experience
Mhm.
with working between those two realms. Yeah.
Well, I think that just sit through it comes from Japan. That's our inheritance from the Japanese people who landed here and brought the Dharma to us, our particular forms. And it just doesn't really work for everybody. I think it, especially uh, those of us raised in the United States, we've inherited a very noisy culture,
Mm-hmm.
one of deep materialism and not so much spiritual. So I don't know if the Japanese who come to the Dharma are just as neurotic as we are, but I don't think they are.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
My guess, just from being around them. And I used to live in Japan as well. Yeah, everyone's got issues, no matter who they are and wherever they are and in time and space. But I think there are particular kinds of things in our the cultures we're raised in that show up, and they do show up. And when we sit it out, it definitely shows up. You can't hold it. I mean, there are a lot of people who can just shut it down. There's the spiritual bypassing people. I am one. I've done plenty of that.
Mhm, mhm.
It feels good, yes, to feel nothing. Yeah, it's great. But it
Uh-huh.
doesn't really do anything in the long run for you.
Mm,
It's temporary
mm,
vacation, but
mhm,
the stuff is still there, still waiting, and it's not just our individual issues, our karmic issues, our emotional issues. We share it with the whole culture, with the whole world, really.
mhm,
And I saw so much of that come up in environmental groups because I've done worked with environmental groups a lot. And self-righteous anger is tends to be a specialty of environmental groups.
mhm,
And it doesn't go well. Let's just say that does not go well in the long term.
mhm,
I once met this woman named Lucy Moore. When I was writing my book, I interviewed her. And she was educated at Harvard, and she was part of a Ford Foundation grant that went to the Navajo Reservation to work on Native rights. Her husband was a lawyer, and she did whatever she could there. She was also a mediator for environmental groups and also some of the big issues of like the Colorado River, the arguments over that. What should we do with the water? Who's got what rights to what? And also the Klamath. She was very big on that one too. And she said that she could work with people to find a place of agreement, except for the environmental groups. She said they were the toughest nuts of all. No
mhm,
one big tent for them. Nope, not doing it. The
mhm,
self-righteousness was extreme, is what she said. And I've also noticed that as well.
mhm,
So yeah, these are things that are not just individual, but throughout our lives and the lives of many that
mhm.
we work on. And as we resolve and release our own, we help the collective. We help.
Right, right. I read a wonderful piece by Brian Joshin Burns, who you maybe know, just this week, who was writing about this, the dimension of anger. I mean, there's so much happening right now that brings up quite a lot of frustration and anger and throughout the world. And environmentally, I can understand and have my own feelings about what's happening with the planet. But when we don't take care of those feelings, then yeah, how it comes out actually can start to create more division or become a barrier, obstacle um, to creating action. And this is the Zen peacemakers practice
Yes,
as well, of course.
definitely. Yeah.
But he shared a wonderful thing which I had not heard before, which supposedly apparently Bernie Glassman did say, was that if you remove the selfishness from
Hmm.
anger, what are you left with? You're left with determination and care.
Yeah.
The anger arises out of care, but when there's a selfishness to it, then it becomes a distorted form that actually gets in the way. But if we remove that selfishness, which is clearing out that
Mhm.
shaving the heart, if you will,
Yeah.
then the anger is the clear anger of Manjushri, or that it is a determined action that comes out of the deep care and love, and so it has a different quality. Yeah.
Yeah. That it's hard to do that quite often. And it also we could fool ourselves into thinking that it's clear anger, that it's not selfish. But it takes a deep, I think, daily examination to
Mm-hmm.
see what it's really all about. And environmental groups, for the most part, aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
They're busy acting and acting out, both. So many of them. Um, I I always felt it was important to do ritual and ceremony
Mm-hmm.
with environmental action, just to bring another dimension to it that slows it all down,
Yeah.
that gets us to feel into that reverential space that we really are all about. So we want to really do that for our earth care. That's where we really are. And it works very well. I used to do a lot of art with it too. Well, I still am, but art practice also slows it down and
Mm-hmm.
helps people to feel into it. You don't have to be acting all the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, peacemaker order principles apply, but they don't necessarily apply when you're in a group that's not dedicated to Zen practice or any other practice like that. But you
Mm-hmm.
can get them, get people to enter it better through ritual, ceremony, and art.
Mm-hmm.
And those
Mm-hmm.
are very, very useful tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm really touched by that slowing down practice, which
Mhm.
feels counterintuitive when people feel a sense of urgency.
Mm.
But I'm reminded of there's a principle in trauma work that slower is faster.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So maybe there's a relationship there that actually in the slowing down,
Uh,
then things can move a little bit more
well,
openly.
well, trauma work, like everything, has multiple skills that we can use. You don't always slow down in trauma work. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you got to meet the speed of the person. No,
Yeah.
sometimes in trauma work, you get them kicking, just different ways to connect the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
In ISP, which I also practice, that's integral somatic psychology, its principle is to take the feeling, whatever it is, anger is always a good one, and to spread it throughout the body because the whole body can handle it. The whole body doesn't act out. The whole body can embrace it all the differences. But we're
Mm-hmm.
not always in our whole body, right? I'm not. Most of us aren't. So spreading the feeling to different parts of the body and using more subtle body. So in that practice, we talk about four levels of the body. There's the outer gross body, if you want to call it gross, I don't, but the outer body that we're familiar with, our face in the mirror. The subtle body, which is actually what really animates the outer body. Outer body can't exist without the subtle body. Subtle body is our emotions, our whatever stream of life brought us into being. That's subtle body, subtle individual body. Then there's subtle collective body. which connects to everything. Now, all these are not separate, right? They are completely joined. We don't always have access to them in our awareness.
Mhm.
And then there's the bigger, boundless, whatever you want to call it, the great body, if you want to call it that, the one that is really our deepest inheritance,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
we draw from always. It's always present. It's hard to get past the circumstances of our birth into this physical body. It takes time.
Mhm. And they're all, like you said, dynamically responding
They are, yeah,
all, all at once, all the time. Yeah.
all the time. And the interesting thing to me is that the out in this practice, the practice of ISP and other things, it's based in Vedic practices, actually, that the outer, um, more coarse body really is just dust. It really is. And that the subtle body is what animates. And so it's for us to harmonize, deepen it within the subtle body into the great bodies.
Mhm. 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 I'm starting. Miko's joining us here.
Oh, good. Hi.
Did you hear us talking about all the
Yeah.
bodies?
Well, there's one thing I wanted to bring up because it's so cool. When you mentioned the space station people, I mean the flyby people, not the
Mhm.
station. One of them, Jeremy Hansen, has is guided by indigenous elders. Did you
Mhm.
see any of that? That he's
I was reading about the patch. So he's wearing a patch
Mhm.
that they created, designed for him, and I so a little bit about that connection. Can you say more? Do you know? Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love that it's Artemis. Now we're in the divine feminine, if you want to call it that. And he's bringing indigenous wisdom on that flight. He's a practitioner of it, and he brought it in his own form on the flight. And the patch is, let me see, so I don't remember all of it. It was designed for him. Um, and yeah, here he's talking about the name of the capsule is integrity.
Mhm.
And he says, for me, being in integrity is walking in accordance with the seven sacred laws that guide me through life. So these, for him, they're all based in earth animals, animal spirits. So the eagle for love, the bear for courage, the Sasquatch for honesty, Bigfoot. This is Ojibwe. That's what tradition he's coming from. The beaver for wisdom, the wolf for humility,
Mhm.
acknowledging there's a higher power. The wolf represents that in his world. The turtle for truth, the Turtle Island, of course. Um, he has a Big Dipper on it, the North Star, and he has a Canadian flag on it as well. So I thought it's so wonderful that he did that, and that he's been a practitioner of these ways for 10 years at least.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Really wonderful, and especially as we're moving outward, um, how we move outward seems to me to be um, really vital for us to um, be mindful of that. We have full moon and new moon sittings with One Body Sangha,
Oh,
and
good.
Aparna recently brought in. We always offer a reading at the beginning, and Aparna brought in because she works in the sciences and in astronomy, and had brought in a cautionary reading from a colleague of hers who's Dine, I think, if I recall,
Yeah.
speaking to what's happening with burying remains on the moon, and that there's a people can pay a certain amount of money to have their cremated remains interred on the moon. And
Oh,
um, yeah, and so there's some dialogue about that in this particular piece of writing was saying, this is our relative here, and it's kind of being commercialized already. And so I think of that quite a bit as part of Artemis' mission is beginning to lay the groundwork for creating landing sites on the moon and eventually on Mars, and the ways that we relate with these bodies, Earth body,
mm,
moon body, Mars body. I'm really grateful to know that there are deeply embedded within, at least within NASA, uh, a number of people that are attuning to the embodied experience of that and the indigenous ways. And I've been so touched by how many of the scientists on the teams are women and led by women and not
yeah.
just working there but leading the programs and the felt sense of warmth and community and collective that I have been seeing in all of those conversations, which
Yeah.
does seem to come out of that spirit. Yeah, that same
No,
spirit.
it's really different than, I witnessed that stuff ages ago because I'm old. It's the first lunar trip. Yeah, the people in the control room this time were all hugging each other and smiling. Not the last one. No, they didn't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Real sense of community.
Yes, yes. And yeah, the needs to be safeguarded against the egotistical strivings to conquer and take and, have your ashes there, whatever the hell people are thinking of. It's
Mhm, mhm,
crazy. That stuff's crazy. Our
mhm.
our bodies are made of this earth, and they belong to this earth. We belong to this earth.
Yeah, yeah.
The earth belongs to us, not so much we belong to the earth.
Hmm. Yeah, we are nothing but Earth. Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's more because
Yeah.
there's the spiritual
They're
dimension,
the other bodies, but yeah,
the
yeah.
other bodies. But yeah, the body we inhabit for a time, it's definitely of the earth for sure. The calcium in our bones, all of it.
Hmm. Hmm. I wonder if we could explore a little bit of uh, this practice, Zen practice, as engaged practice, which we're
Mhm.
kind of found ourselves in. And you were at Standing Rock for a little
Yeah,
while when
I did.
that was in place. And I'm curious, and you spoke about the use of ritual and ceremony
Mhm.
to help slow down and connect with maybe that unselfish dimension of care and love for the earth as protectors. And to me, this feels really relevant for Zen practice of that there's how our zazen or how our ritual, how our ceremony actually connects us into that deepest loving action. I wonder if there's anything you want to share about your experience at Standing Rock or other
Yeah,
aspects of the nonprofits you've been involved with, of that calling into action that you've been
at
in.
Standing Rock, the overall saying by everybody was to remain in prayer the whole time.
Hmm.
And there were some people who just wanted to fight, in a way that wasn't so carefully thought out or felt out. But most people did, and there were prayers chanted and silence maintained for a lot of it. And then it got really rough. I was there when the dog attack happened, and people were really terrified by that. And then later, my friend's daughter came. They are, what are they? Which one are they? I think they're part Dene and something else. But anyway, they came, and she was hit with water cannons and rubber bullets and everything else. Just horrible. It
Hmm.
was really horrible, and people were rightfully terrified. And yet the the remain in prayer was said over and over again, even through that. And that really impressed me in a big way. I I have a teacher who is a Lakota-based spiritual practitioner, but she's actually originally Dene. Her Dene elders told her she needed to study with the Lakota, that was closer to her own path.
Mm,
And I've been going to her for teaching. She's not able to do it anymore. I'm not really either. Some of it is takes a lot of physical
mhm,
work, building the lodge and all of that. And so it's hard work. So I but I take from that something that I can do side by side with Zen practice. So one time I went up to a high mountain, high-ish, it's not like the Rockies, in Southern California, high desert, close to the border, California border with Arizona, and um, did prayers for the land there. And the Lakota teacher said, don't mix them. She says, don't like take a little this like a salad bar. Don't do that.
mhm,
Just
mhm,
do your Zen version separately. You could do one first and after the other,
mhm,
but and decide which one you want to do first. So because that's my tradition, I did that first. And then
mhm,
I did, according to her instruction, the rest of it, including offering foods and things that she advised me to do, and made the prayer flags and all of that.
mhm,
Used a drum and chanting in both ceremony, actually, in both. And it felt very powerful at the time. I don't know, you know,
mhm,
the invocation goes out and is suddenly answered. Yes, it is.
mhm, mhm,
But
mhm,
what did happen later was that some people who were squatting on that land, who were making drugs and selling them near the Mexico border,
mhm,
um, left. The police came out. I called them, of course, so it's
mhm,
not totally mysterious, but but they did leave and they never came back.
mhm,
They weren't arrested. They were just kicked off the land.
mhm,
But they never came back, even though it'd be a really delicious place for them because it has water and
mhm,
power on that piece of land.
mhm,
It's remote, so they could get away with whatever they're doing, what they thought. So I don't know how much the ceremony entered that whole stream of events, but I feel it did. It did.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. But that practice to remain in prayer is really powerful. Really hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And how
Yeah.
that changes us ourselves as well as energetically, which when we think about all the connection between these different bodies, these subtle bodies, these
Mhm.
spiritual bodies, yeah, we
Yeah.
may not know directly how, but there is a shift. Mhm,
There is a shift. I mean, it's just in the doing of it, right
mhm,
there.
mhm,
That's where it is. Just you do it.
mhm,
You put yourself into it fully.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. To remain in prayer. Mm.
Yes. Yes. It's a good reminder, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I was also really appreciated keeping the traditions separate, not like
Mhm,
mixing them up like,
mhm,
like a batch of brownies or whatever. You know,
mhm, mhm.
they really are from different traditions, and doing them with integrity, I think it helps to remain within the tradition.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's an important point as well. And respecting that these forms they come from something that's very
Yes.
deep and embodied, and to just cherry pick, as you said, is not
Yeah.
really respecting the ground from which they arise. Yeah.
Right. And I didn't just go make things up. I did follow each teacher's guidance, the Zen teacher and the Lakota teacher. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about your art practice.
Okay,
We share
sure.
that in common, and that was also coming to be when you were talking about remaining in prayer, because there's a
Mhm.
prayerful dimension in my own art practice. Yeah, and I would say even maybe a different word that I find is when I engage in art, there's sort of a resonance that I'm opening myself to, in whether that's a resonance of the place where I'm at or whatever it is that I might be painting. But
Yeah.
but it's a deeply spiritual practice for me. And I don't know that every artist would name it in that way, but every artist I've ever spoken to shares a sense of the felt quality of that intimate relationship, um, embodied and in resonance with something that might be emerging in the creating of the art.
Yeah,
Um,
usually there is.
mhm,
And even like crafters get into a flow with their materials
mhm,
that goes beyond the just physical.
mhm,
So yeah, there is something to it, big time. That's what we learned from Dido at ZMM. Actually, I did anyway. I think Gakyo might agree with that too, although she had a very deep photography practice before that.
mhm,
Um, but Dido taught us in his retreat workshops around art to feel into the ground, go in search of your subject, and that there will be a call, or a resonance, if you want to call it that, between you and whatever subject, and that you can feel it stronger as you get nearer. You can pull away and it's less, and then you start to learn how to feel the resonance and what your subject really is all about. It's really all about your own practice,
mhm,
and it's whatever is in your environment that has a message for you, if you want to call it that, some connection that's deep, that's
mhm.
important. Yeah, there is that. And I found a lot I learned from Guston. Do you know who he is? Do people
Mm-mm.
even know? Philip Guston was, he had many parts of his career. I think he died, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or something. But he started off as in doing murals, really big ones. Did an amazing one in Mexico, and it was buried, and um, it was something. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it was about some of the issues we're seeing now, terrorism, fascism, all of that. It was all in there, and he also included a hooded figure, a KKK person, in this huge mural. It's only been recently restored. I think it was re-unveiled in 2025. So, and it's so relevant even to this moment. So then he went out of that and into abstract expressionist work for a while. So he was hanging with all the big stars of abstract expressionism. And then he changed again. He went back to a kind of figurative work where he really, during the Nixon administration, I think he came up with a lot of artwork around these KKK figures and the problems of our times, you know, the terrible violence and prejudice and hatred, all of that. It's all in his work. It's very much there. But he also did things like he would make a single line, which I think a lot of us have done in Zen practice calligraphy arts, right? And he wanted to make a line that was completely without any action of himself. He wanted himself to step out of that line. He wanted that line to be pure. And he settled on doing it in charcoal because that seemed to be more fresh. And so he's got a few pieces from that series that are well known, that are like astonishing. They're just lines. And he taught a lot. And there's a video I watched of his where he's making a painting and it's clearly in his own style. He has a very distinct style. And he's doing it as he talks. He says, and then there's this, there's that. And he says, this is a good painting. It's something that is recognizable as my painting. And he says, but it's an additive painting, adding, adding, adding. It's so, and then in that spot, at that point, he He just erased it. He took it all down. And he said it's not a living painting.
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
so I think that's really important in the
mm,
in the art practices that they're alive. They're coming from a living space and they're not over determined by our thinking and our
mm,
forceful hand.
mm. That's when, in my experience, when that resonance that I feel as an artist or that an artist might be feeling when they're painting, that's one thing I look for in my own work is like when that resonance actually comes through the work and it has an aliveness. It is alive. Yeah. And I for sure know the 9 times out of 10 when I kill it, when
Yes.
yeah, I've done too much, I've thought too much, I've forced it too much, I've tried too hard.
Yes.
And that life is just gone. It's really kind
Yeah.
of amazing, even just seeing that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I usually burn those.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I keep them as scrap paper that I can then use. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It could be.
Yeah.
But I usually work in oil painting and it doesn't really work too well under an oil painting.
Yeah.
You could just to be frugal, but sometimes frugal isn't the right thing to do.
And burning somehow feels appropriate. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's an offering. I offer up my bad painting.
Uh-huh.
I offer up my dead work.
Yeah. 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 When we can feel the difference in that aliveness of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I sometimes use it with therapy clients,
Uh-huh.
especially those who have early childhood abuse and trauma. And it's from a nonverbal stage in life, and art really helps the
Mm,
work just keep your hands moving a little
mhm.
bit like in writing when you do those free writes. So we do
Yeah.
that also in art practice for in
Yeah.
therapy. And I know Gakyo knows plenty about that. He's done
Mhm.
it a long time. Yeah, but it's helpful. It really is. In
Yeah.
in somatics, you use two sides of things. You want to include everything. You don't want to just like focus on the trauma vortex. You're also including the counter vortex, which feels good. And you
Mhm.
can't do it without both. You
Mhm.
can't do it without embracing everything, in other words.
Mhm.
And that's therapeutic. That's where the therapy comes in and the release.
Mhm. And that's that expanding to include everything. Yeah,
Yes,
which actually gives us more capacity. Yeah,
yes, yes.
beautiful. Well, that feels like actually a nice little segue into I pulled a few pieces from Kosei's website, a few of her artworks, and she said it would be fine if I shared some. And these are
Mhm.
ones that spoke to me. And what's interesting is that actually I've put them together in pairs. So
Uh,
this pairing too somehow emerged and I'll just share what spoke to me. And we've got about 10 minutes left, so I don't want to take a lot of time. I want to open it up for questions, but I thought maybe I'll show these to folks and then we can just open for any questions or comments from the group, really invite people to bring whatever resonates for you. So I'll just do a quick screen share so you can get a sense of her work here too. And this will be a surprise for Kosei in terms of
yes.
which ones really spoke to me. And we'll go through those relatively quickly though. But um, so again, these are in pairs. Um,
Mhm.
so this painting, which for me, the capture of this, that ever so slight swell of the
Mm,
water. Like I just know that feeling where that water just kind of swells
mm.
ever so slightly. And then this next piece
Yeah.
where the water settles and it's just as kind of beginning to still. This makes me think a little bit of the feelings I have in Zazen, often of that kind of movement of something arising and then something settling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I like these two. I'm glad you picked those two. They're from this very nearby each other on the Oregon coast.
Mm, mm, okay.
They're favorite places of mine to go.
Mm, yeah. And then these next two, um, this just the This canyon wall, the presence
Mhm.
of that, it fills the whole field of my vision, and then the creek
Okay.
below,
It's
and
a
then
Yellowstone River.
this,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
And this next one also, this wall.
Yes.
So again, this for some reason, these qualities of Zazen keeps coming of,
Mm.
facing the wall, that sometimes impenetrable wall, whether that's the impenetrable wall of self or the mind, or just of
Or stepping off the cliff.
emptiness,
It's-
stepping off the cliff. Yeah, the
Yeah.
vastness of that.
Yeah. That's actually in Colorado. That's Black Canyon.
That I saw it was titled that. I was wondering if that
Yeah,
was the one in
it is. Yeah, Black
Colorado.
Canyon of the Gunnison.
Oh, wonderful. And then this, a little more abstract, but I can pick out a shoreline,
Yes.
and mountain. And then this one going to
Oh yeah.
even more abstract, but there's something about, like you were saying, with the Guston's work, we're sometimes working in more of an abstraction to express something, but that
Mm.
same quality, that dynamism is in this painting too.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, that one is near Big Sur, the one that's more an abstracted landscape.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is from a conversation I had with someone about becoming more of an earth chaplain. It's from a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then a mountain, rocky landscape.
That is from the California desert. It's near Anza Borrego.
I saw it said Anza. I camp often in Anza Borrego. Yeah, I'm very familiar. In fact, I might even that particular ridge looks very familiar to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this one, so again, more abstract, but the power and energy of that, I just love.
Yeah, I painted over that one. I don't-
Ah,
I
all right.
mean, I meant to change it. I don't know why. It was fine painting as it was. And it does have life, but I made
Yeah.
it into something else. And now I
Uh,
can't even remember what I did with it, but whatever. It's what happens with art.
uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So any, yeah, comments or questions from the group here? Really invite folks. Sekai, go ahead, please.
Well, I was touched in many ways. We have, I'm trying to, is it Kosei? Is it how you?
Jose, yeah, good enough. Yeah.
Um, I live in Minnesota, which, as we say here, is Dakota land. And I too, when I was about 20, wanted to become a nun. I had a very strong, what I would call
Mm,
longing to become a nun. In fact, I took a retreat at a convent one weekend when I was still living in Madison, Wisconsin, where I went to university there. And I was talking with a sister over the weekend on retreat about, taking the vows of being a nun, and she explained them to me and said what it would involve and everything, and I really seriously thought about it, and I didn't. But that longing has continued, and I've talked about it with our teacher at Eon Zen many times, and he unfortunately is not, I don't know what the word would be, but he cannot ordain
right.
people to the priesthood. And like you, I think I'm probably older than you, and I've been told at various monasteries, you're too old,
Mm,
you're too old, you know. And so what I've done is to just simply live like a monk would live. As much as in my mind how I can conceive of that, I've chosen to live very simply. And the vow I've made is to be, one of the vows I've made, aside from the ones in the Jukai ceremony, is to be, to show compassion and to practice loving kindness and to, what's the third one? There was one more and I'm having a mind freeze. But, so I've come across the same obstacles as you, and I'm very happy that you were able to make those vows and become a monk, and become ordained as a priest. And thank you for this time and sharing your life with us. And your paintings are beautiful.
Thank you for your practice. Are you able to go on monastic retreats? Actually, go to a monastery and?
No, I think the nearest monastery here is probably somewhere in Wisconsin.
Where are you?
Right now, currently, I'm in Rochester.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are monasteries. I think it's worthwhile, because you have the dedication and the personal vow and everything else. And I think it's also helpful to spend some time in monastic retreat, even, like a Sishin plus, go for, if you can, a month. And then you'll dip into what monastic life feels like because you're so open. I think you would just soak it up. And I think it would help to inform that self-practice even more. Your home as monastery practice would be even more deeply informed. It's just a thought. You don't have to, of course, but it's a possibility.
I'll try to find a place, but I don't know where to begin to look.
Oh, well, I think people can help you with that, just ask.
Yeah, what I hear in your response, Kosei, is to whatever limitations we may see, to not let them limit us,
Yeah.
to find a way, whatever our way may be, which is what I really saw in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and ways to continue to deepen the practice, even through all our screw ups. They're especially helpful sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can. Yeah, that longing to be a nun, I fully identify with. And I found a teacher even older than me, to ordain me because she understood. And you just never know. But I would,
There's the longing to be a priest.
yes. So just I really think it would be, you'd love it, I think, if you went on a retreat in a monastery and soak that up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments and questions? We're coming to our time, but I want to allow at least a few minutes for some time.
I see Kyoto's waving at us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I so appreciated your talk, and um, I too want to be a priest, and I too am older. But my question for you is about your practice, your study with the Lakota teacher. I
Oh, yeah.
love how you brought so many different traditions together, and that's how I feel my work is, my practice has been too. But tell me about your Lakota teacher and how you found that person.
Oh, yeah. The usual way I find things by stumbling around and asking questions. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I found her in New York. I went with a neighbor of mine to a lodge she was doing, and she also did women only lodges. She was
Mm,
involved in the first women only lodges at the Sundance, and she was a participant in Sundance for 20 years.
wow.
So I just stayed in touch with her because I felt moved by her and her practice. And she told me that for women's practice, we need not such a hot lodge. We need a kinder lodge that's like really like a womb nurturing us. So you don't like really sweat everything out. She said the men need that, but we don't. Women don't need that so
That
much,
makes so much sense.
doesn't it? I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can look around, see who's doing women's lodges, see what their lineage is. She has a firm, clear lineage, so I just stuck it out with her, and uh,
Mm.
and she was happy to teach me. We
Yeah.
were going to do a vision quest, but I got too old for that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go up in the mountain and be alone for 4 days. No.
Well,
But
thank
yeah,
you. Thank you so much. This has been so rich, and I just really appreciate having this time with you.
thank you. Yes. Good luck with what you do next.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of comments here in the chat, and I'll just read Aparna, who had to step out. Just want to say many thanks for arranging the gathering and beautiful way to begin the weekend and vows of gratitude. And then Sarah, my partner, is practicing in a Zen tradition under Philip Kapleau, author of Three Pillars of Zen. They have a full-time residential training space at their Zen center called Rochester Zen Center. They also offer session regularly, which has a monastic flavor to it, offering this to Seikai.
Yes.
Yeah, Sarah, we often get this confused. Actually, Seikai's in Rochester, Minnesota. So
Mhm.
not the Rochester, New York. So a little bit different location, but Rochester Zen Center, yeah, is a wonderful place for deep practice. It's one of the longer standing Zen centers in the country. Yeah.
Oh, no. Mm.
What what's that, Sarah?
Good to know that there's two Rochesters.
Like,
Yeah.
even we get confused here in the States about that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there are places around. I mean, if you're willing to get on a plane, go to them. Upaya Zen Center in Santa Fe. I mean, you have to get on a plane for that too. But there are a lot of really great places.
Mhm. Yeah, great
So
path.
Jan Chosen Base, she's out here on the West Coast. That's a great one too.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, they've become much more, I'd say, soft and nurturing in their style. And she's not actively teaching, but she is there and does teach and has many, many heirs. And I know a lot of those people. I think you would like that one, but it involves getting on a plane to get to a monastery these days.
Mhm. Yeah. I am struck by the how the flavor shifts, and like you were saying, even within the Lakota recognition with that teacher, that the needs of women in practice might be different. I've heard this even with Zen of realizing that the dissolution of self,
Mhm.
um, and letting go of ego, is a very important practice, particularly from our masculine dimension of letting go of that conqueror egoic self. But within women, there's often more of like it's like I sort of had to find and gain confidence in myself before I could let go of it. And sometimes I think there's a different need in different gender approaches. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
I found in therapy practice, a lot of women suppress anger.
yeah,
So, we do need to get in touch with it and work with it in a safe way. It's really important to do that. And
yeah.
sometimes the masculine form engenders more anger. So,
Right.
not a good idea.
Oh, yeah. Very different approaches. Yeah, to include them all. Well, to close, yeah, anything else you'd like to say, Kosei? And just this, I'm really struck by the broad depth, broad and deep
Yes.
of the river of your life of practice. And we've really been exploring what is practice. And I think we just got an incredibly rich taste for that in your life, and the many forms it takes. Anything you'd like to say in closing? Yeah.
I really appreciate this opportunity to meet with you all. And and to do a little mini life review. It's always helpful to do that. Like, who the hell am I now?
Oh, look at that. Oh, who's that?
So
Uh-huh.
thank you all very much.
Thank you, Kosei. It's really an honor to be with you and to share in this. And thank you, everyone. Also, those who needed to step off, want to acknowledge their presence here. Take good care, everyone. Have a good weekend. Yeah, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.